Good day. Welcome to our webinar. Today's topic: care and guardianship simplified. That's the topic, and the reason why I chose this topic for today is because many of my clients who come and see me initially, or many people that pose questions on our website, on our blogs, or send us emails, they do not understand the difference between care and guardianship. Contact, simple, that's contact with a minor child. However, care, the previous term can be equated to the word custody. We do not use the word custody any longer, but sometimes we refer to it loosely, but the new term is now care. Guardianship has always been a term that has been used, and that's something different than care or custody. So that's the topic today. Welcome again, and thank you for joining on this live webinar. So let's get into it. The legislation that brought about this new term, or this substitution of the term custody to care, is the Children's Act. Now, I have posted many videos on the Children's Act, unpacking various sections therein, and today's purpose is not to deal with that. However, today I hope that once you've watched this video and you do contact my office, you do not use the terms incorrectly. You phone my office and say, I would like Advocate Abduroaf to get me primary care of a minor child, or sole guardianship rights over my minor child, and you know exactly what you are intending, as opposed to setting up a consultation with me and we spend 15 minutes of that 40 minutes or an hour trying to understand what exactly you want. You might say the word guardianship, but you might intend a total different scenario. It's like someone is saying computer. Are you referring to a laptop, a tablet, a PC? We need to be on the same page. So let's move to the Children's Act. Chapter 2 deals with parental responsibilities and rights. So let's pause there for 1 second. Parental responsibilities and rights. Now, it's important to note that having parental rights and responsibilities are not only applicable to biological parents. I have mentioned that many times in the past. A third party, an uncle, an aunt, step-parent, or total non-relative can acquire parental responsibilities and rights. And we now have to unpack what does it mean. Okay, so section 18 comes in. It says the following: parental responsibilities and rights. So we first use the word responsibilities. As a parent, that comes first. Then your rights comes later. Subsection 1. A person may have either full or specific parental responsibilities and rights in respect of a child. Now, here we mom or dad. Here we use the word person, meaning a non-parent, a non-biological person to the minor child. I hope it makes sense. So, any person may either have full or specific parental responsibilities and rights. So before I go further, let's see how we can unpack it, and maybe you can follow me better through the journey. So parental responsibilities and rights would be, as you see later on, would be having contact with the child, paying maintenance, guardianship rights, custody, and so on. So you can either have all those rights, or you can have specific rights. So let me give an example of someone who has specific rights. Let's say, for argument's sake, the father is not allowed to have any contact with a minor child because of whatever reasons, but he has a legal obligation to maintain the minor child. Or the mother may not have may have contact over the minor child, care for the minor child, but she cannot make any guardianship, legal decisions for the minor child, like enrolling the minor child into a school. So both those parents have limited parental responsibilities and rights. The father here, he, for example, cannot have contact with the minor child, but the mother here, she cannot make decisions for the minor child. However, should the parents have full parental responsibilities and rights, they can basically do anything necessary in a child's best interest. The Children's Act unpacks it a bit further. It goes as follows. Subsection 2, the parental responsibilities and rights that a person may have in respect of a child include the responsibility and the right to care for the child, to have custody for the child to live in your home, for you to look after the child. That's the custody part of it. To maintain contact with the child. That could be the other parent having contact with a minor child. This is where we see the differentiation between guardianship and care. Subsection C, to act as guardian of the child. So clearly there must be a difference between guardianship and care. Two separate phrases, terms. And subsection D, to contribute to the maintenance of a child. If a parent has to do all of that, wonderful, to have full parental responsibilities and rights. If a parent does not care for a minor child, he or she has limited parental responsibilities and rights over a minor child. So let me stop there, and this will become relevant as we go further in the specific webinar. Guardianship, not custody, guardianship refers to legal things regarding a minor child. For argument's sake, for a minor child to apply for a passport, the guardian will have to consent. Nothing to do with access or visitation or seeing the minor child. The minor child wants to leave the Republic of South Africa to go on a holiday, guardian's consent. The minor child would like to enroll into a school, or the parents would like to enroll the minor child into a specific school, guardian's consent. Another example would be an operation, where both guardians will have to consent for that, legal consent. This parent might not see the minor child, might not be involved in the minor child's life, as another parent may, but he or she is a guardian, and therefore he requires a consent. Compare that to care. Care entails physically looking after the minor child. If a minor child is with you for the weekend, you have care over the minor child. You might not be the primary caregiver because the minor child resides with the other parent most of the time or during the week for whatever reason, but you have care over the minor child on your weekend. Then we have the issue concerning contact. Contact might be a bit more different. For example, where a parent might have care, the one parent might have care, but you're only allowed to have contact. For example, WhatsApp messages, video calls, seeing the minor child during the day. So that will be contact. You can't necessarily have care. It's technically possible, you can overlap the two, but clearly if you're phoning the child with video contact or telephonic contact, that cannot be seen as care. The minor child is in the care of the other parent. Okay, I think that explains the difference between guardianship and care. Now let's move forward further. Subsection 3 of section 18, it says the following. Subject to section 4 and 5, a parent or other person who acts as guardian of a child. Now they bring in the word parent or other person. Can you see? You do not need to be a parent to be the guardian of the minor child. Because subsection 3 deals with guardianship issues only, they're only referring to a parent or other person. Who acts as guardian of a child must administer and safeguard the child's property and property interest. Therefore, if you are the guardian or you're a parent, you need to do that. So a parent needs to do that. However, a third party who acquires guardianship rights must do it as well. There is a legal obligation upon all parents to do so, but third parties who have guardianship rights must also do that. Subsection B, assist or represent the child in administrative, contractual and other legal matters. Okay, so for example, if a minor child buys something at the shop or enters into credit or whatever the issues are, or goes to court or sue somebody, the guardian has to assist the minor child where that is concerned. Now this is where most of my work comes from regarding guardianship issues. Subsection C, 18(3)(c). So a parent or other person who acts as guardian of the child must give or refuse any consent required by law in respect of the child, including consent to the child's marriage. That is, if the child gets married under the age of 18. 18 years old, they can get married. No issues over there. Consent to the child's adoption. Consent to the child's departure or removal from the Republic of South Africa. Therefore, if a minor child needs to leave the Republic of South Africa for whatever reason, both parents, or a parent, and any other person who acts as guardian, legal guardian, has to consent to that. Keeps me very busy. Subsection 4, consent to the minor child's application for a passport. Again, you have to go to the Department of Home Affairs, both guardians have to sign. This all refers to consent issues, nothing with physical contact. And subsection 5, consent to the alienation meaning selling basically of property, or encumbrance, for example bonding property, getting a bond on the property, of any immovable property of the minor child. So if a minor child owns property and now the minor child, you would like to sell the property to a third party, both guardians have to consent to that. And the same reason, or in the same basis, if you would want that property to be bonded, refinanced or financed, the minor child's guardians have to give consent in that specific regard. And now to conclude on the specific section of the Children's Act, let's deal with a scenario. You would like to travel overseas with a minor child. You are a guardian of the minor child, and the other parent is a guardian as well. We'll use a parent example. But that parent does not want to give consent. Problematic, because the law says both parents' consent is required, not only one parent. The section does not say a parent. It means only one parent. It says both parents. That's what it says. Both parents who act as guardian have to consent for this. Now you want to travel overseas with your minor child. The other guardian says, no, I'm not giving consent. What do you do then? This is now where the court comes in. The High Court or the Children's Court, depending upon what type of issues there are, where the court as upper guardian of all minor children can say, you know what, you are the parents of the minor child, you are the person who has been assigned guardianship rights, but me as upper guardian, I can override your authority. I can make the final decision if I want to, if I need to, put it that way, if I need to. That's where subsection 4 comes in. It says the following: whenever more than one person has guardianship of a child, each one of them is competent subject to subsection 5, besides those sections we have mentioned now early on. Sorry, the next section, sorry, subsection 5, apology for that. Any other law or any order of a competent court to the contrary, to exercise independently and without the consent of the other any rights or responsibilities arising from such guardianship. So let's look at subsection 5 and make sense of this. Unless a competent court orders otherwise, the consent of all the persons that have guardianship of a child is necessary in respect of matters set out in subsection 3c. Okay, so what's it saying? It's saying the following. When it comes to subsection 3c, above here, the section where it says 3 subject to subsection 4 and 5, a parent or other person who acts as guardian of the child must administer that section. I do not know if my pointer can be seen on this webinar. So for that section, subsection 3c or subsection 3, for that specific section, both guardians have to consent. It's very important for you to note that. If, however, one of the guardians does not want to consent, the court can come in and override that specific guardian's consent. That's very important to note. So when it comes to legal matters, administrative matters, and contractual matters, one guardian can assist the minor child, what I discussed earlier on. But when it comes to these specific matters, regarding subsection 3c, to give or refuse any consent required by law in respect of a child, including consent to the child's marriage, consent to the child's adoption, consent to the child's departure and removal of the Republic of South Africa, consent to the child's application for a passport, and consent to the alienation and encumbrance of any immovable property of the child. For those sections 3c, both guardians' consent is required unless a court authorizes otherwise. Subsection 3a and b, for that, one guardian can give consent to assist a minor child. I hope it makes sense. The reason why it's very important to note is that quite often parents have disputes regarding these specific issues. Maybe not necessarily the marriage aspect or the adoption aspect, but quite often regarding the issue concerning the departure or removal of a minor child from the Republic of South Africa because one parent wants to relocate, or for the minor child to obtain a passport in order to travel overseas on a holiday. Very important section to note. For those specific reasons, it's important for you to know the difference between care and guardianship. So let's move back to the start of this specific webinar. We started out chapter 3 of the Children's Act. Please note, in summary, that you do not have to be a biological parent of a minor child in order for you to have guardianship rights or parental responsibilities and rights over a minor child. You can acquire it, the court can assign it upon you. It's a separate application to court. If you have full parental responsibilities and rights, you have a right to care for the minor child, have contact with the minor child, act as guardian, and also you have an obligation to contribute to the child's maintenance. It is possible, under various circumstances, for your rights to be limited. We have limited care, or you have limited guardianship rights over the minor child. And it's possible that the court might make an order that because you are unemployed, you do not have to contribute to the maintenance of the minor child. That is possible, theoretically possible. Having said that, now we're focusing on the roles of a guardian. A guardian should make sure that he administers and safeguards the child's property, assists or represents the minor child in contractual and other legal matters. However, those two aspects, A and B, 3A and B, they can deal with on their own. One guardian can do that. That's fine. So if the minor child lives with a mom and the minor child wants to buy something contractually, only the mom's consent is required. Or the minor child would like to sue somebody and the minor child lives with the dad, only the dad's consent is required. But regarding subsection 3C, for those specific aspects, marriage, adoption, leaving the Republic of South Africa, a passport application, and alienation and encumbrance of property, for that both guardians' consent is required. If both guardians' consent is not possible, under those circumstances, you can approach the court, and the court would override the parental responsibility and rights of the parent who does not want to give consent. Okay, that was a mouthful, but confusing a bit early on, but I think we all followed well and we unpacked it well enough. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you online again soon.